Heart at the Hazbin Hotel, Chapter 22. I honestly don't know how to come back from that last chapter, but I'm gonna try. Chapter 22. The Morning After. Heart's Point of View. "Mom!" I heard someone call out. My ears flicked at the sound. It sounded like a young girl. "Mom!" I heard again. I then noticed I was standing in the bedroom and I was looking around a moment. What was going on? I heard the door open behind me. I turned around and I was surprised what I saw. My ears went up in surprise. It was a small girl. She looked to be about 6 or 7 at the most. She had a dark red long-sleeved shirt on with black pants. Her hair was red and was long to her shoulders. She had wolf ears on her head that were red, but the tips were black. She had what looked like deer antlers on top of her head. I noticed that her eyes were red. I just looked at the small girl in shock. She looked almost like Aleister. "Mom, I found you!" The girl laughed as she ran up to me. She jumped at me and I wasn't expecting it, but I managed to grab the girl in my hands. I just held her a moment and looked at her. She was smiling at me. As I looked at her that moment, I saw small wolf fangs in her mouth. "Dad was looking for you. He asked me to find you," the girl told me. She got out of my arms. "Come on, let's not have Dad waiting." She grabbed my hand and I started walking with her. What is happening? And who was this girl? My ears were sideways in confusion. She called me Mom. Was she my kid? If so, how? I was so confused. I noticed, being behind her, that she had a red wolf tail. She was wagging it happily behind her. The girl led me down the hall and down the steps to the other side of the house. She led me down the hall that led toward the greenhouse. We walked past the extra room of the house and I noticed drawings all over the door. A name sign on the door. The name on the sign was Elena. Was that this girl? Was that her name? I managed to see a few pictures on the door as we walked by, and one looked like the little girl with a dog-looking demon with wings. Another seemed to be her and Aleister. I was confused on what was going on. We walked into the greenhouse, and I saw Aleister standing not far off. He had his sleeves rolled up and had dirt on his pants. His hair was pulled back as well. "I found her, Dad!" The girl cheered. She let go of my hand and ran up to him. Aleister stood up, wiping the dirt from his hands. "Ah, there you are, my little light." Aleister held out his arms, and the girl ran into them, and he picked her up. The girl hugged him. Aleister looked at me. "My wolf, I wanted you to help us. It was weird not having you down here." "We're planting my flowers today," the girl said excitingly as she wagged her tail. I said nothing. I was so confused. My ears went up, and they were backwards. But I felt happy. Was this my life or just a dream? Either way, I didn't care. It was something I've always wanted. "Are you all right, my dear?" Aleister asked me. I snapped out of my thoughts. "Oh, yes. Sorry, I've been thinking." Aleister put the girl down. "Well, come on. Elena's flowers won't grow if we don't help." I nodded and then walked up to the two. "Well, let's get started then." Elena cheered and she walked over and grabbed a few seeds from the table and handed them to me. "Dad already made the holes. I want you to help me plant them." "Okay," I smiled. I kneeled down and helped Elena plant the seeds in the holes and covered them up. We planted all the seeds and the young girl hugged me after we were done. "Thanks, Mom," Elena said. "You're welcome, sweetheart," I told her. Aleister walked up next to the girl. "Now, will you make sure to water them daily?" Aleister asked her. "I will, Dad, I promise," Elena told him. "Okay, good. I'm not helping you this time." He placed a hand on her head. "Now, why don't you go off and play?" Aleister said. Elena nodded. "Okay, Dad." She ran out of the greenhouse. I stood up from the ground, cleaning the dirt off my hands, and turned to Aleister. All he did was smile at me. He wrapped his arms around me, bringing me close to himself. He leaned down and kissed me. My tail just wagged. "I love you," Aleister whispered to me. "I love you too," I whispered back. I was just about to lean up and kiss him again, but our moment was interrupted by a bark. I felt Aleister freeze a moment at the sound. I knew Aleister was afraid of dogs. Why was there one in the house? I turned and looked to the doorway and saw a hellhound run into the greenhouse. It had big bat-like ears and small red bat wings with a long red-colored devil-like tail. Red horns curled around its ears. It was dark gray with a gray body and light gray on its face and down its back. It had big, massive paws. It jumped at me and started to lick my face. I laughed and pushed the hound down to the ground. "Down, boy!" I laughed. "Rufio!" I heard Elena call out. That must have been the hellhound's name. I saw Elena run into the greenhouse. "Sorry, he was in my room and then bolted out when I opened the door," she said as she ran up to us. I looked behind me to see that Aleister was standing behind me a little ways off and saw his world was distorted a little around him. "Dad, you're still afraid of Rufio? You know he won't hurt you," Elena told him. Aleister seemed calm at the girl's words. "Sorry, natural reaction when hearing a bark," Aleister said. Elena laughed. "You're weird. You bought Rufio how long ago for Mom?" "That's not important," Aleister said. "Take Rufio outside to play." "Rufio, come!" Elena commanded. The hellhound whined and looked at her and then back to me. I patted his head. "Go on, boy," I said to the hound. Rufio shook himself and then went to Elena. He licked her face. She laughed and hugged him around the neck. "Let's head outside," Elena cheered. The hound's tail wagged and ran after the small demon girl. I heard Aleister give a sigh in relief. I turned back to him. "Are you okay?" I asked as I went up to him and wrapped my arms around him. "I'll be fine," Aleister answered. "I think I was crazy getting a hellhound for you." "I say so," I replied. Aleister chuckled though. "No matter. I got him for you to protect you when I'm not around. Now he protects Elena. It works out in the end." I'm grateful for that. I sighed in relief. This dream was starting to feel real. Aleister looked down at me with a seductive look. "I believe we were interrupted." I laughed. "I believe so." I slowly leaned up, and Aleister met me halfway to meet me in a kiss. Soon, though, the images started to fade away until it was all blackness. I woke up, blinking my eyes open. I honestly didn't know what time it was, nor did I care. I sat up in bed, but I felt a jolt of pain go up my back. I let out a wince as my ears went back. What the hell? I looked down at myself and noticed I was naked. I blushed. I pulled the blankets back up to cover me. My memories of last night started to come back to me. My night with Aleister. We finally made love. More than once, actually. I lost count, but it was all amazing, so I didn't care. My tail started to wag slightly as my ears went up. Was it all a dream? No, it couldn't have been. "Oh, Lucifer," I breathed out loud softly. Did that really happen? I looked at the other side of the bed, and there was Aleister. He was still asleep. His back was to me, and as he laid on his side, the blanket was covering him up to his hips. It was hard for me not to reach out and touch him, but I didn't want to disturb his sleep. I looked at his back and saw the scratch marks that were light going down. Did I do that? I sat back in the bed with my head against the headboard. I just had a smile come onto my face. I let out a little chuckle. I smiled in content. Aleister and I were finally one with each other. I was fully his and he was mine. My marks proved it. I couldn't get enough of the man. I loved him so much. I'm glad we took this step together. I then thought of my dream. My ears went down slightly. What was that? My mind played with my heart, and it honestly made me happy to have a child with Aleister. I never thought about it. Although, having that dream, it actually didn't sound like a bad idea to me. I smiled. With all we did last night, would we be put in that situation? I'd have to ask, but I put the thought of it to the side for now. I decided to get out of bed. Hopefully I didn't disturb Aleister's sleep as I got up. I swung my legs off the bed and managed to stand up. My back still hurt, but I managed to push back the pain slightly. I decided I should probably get a shower and get cleaned up. I managed to walk to the bathroom and get to the shower to turn on the water. I looked at the bathroom mirror and saw the love marks, bites, and scratches all over my body. I smiled. The marks that I belonged to Aleister. I'd wear them proudly. I had no shame. When the water was okay, I stepped inside. I sat in content as the hot water hit my back. I washed myself off. I managed to stand there with my eyes closed, and I leaned forward against the shower wall and water falling down my back. I didn't even hear someone enter the shower with me since I was so content, but I jumped in surprise when I felt arms wrap around my waist, my ears going up. I looked and saw that it was Aleister's arms that were wrapped around me. I calmed. "Al, you scared me." I laughed. "Sorry, my dear. I felt the bed empty and the shower going. I wanted to join you," Aleister said as he kissed my shoulder. Aleister pressed his body against mine and he rubbed his hands over my wet skin. He pulled me away from the wall slightly. "I hope I didn't wake you when I got out of bed," I replied. "Not at all," Aleister answered as he kissed up to my neck. "I just noticed you missing and wanted to be by you." "You're so sweet, my buck," I smiled. Aleister chuckled. "I try. You're mine, little wolf," he growled. "And we're gonna be skipping. Skip. 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 And skip." As we caught our breath, I put my hands on Aleister's face and leaned up to kiss him. "I love you, Aleister," I told him. "I love you too, my amazing little wolf," Aleister said back as he leaned his forehead against mine. I smiled at him so wide. "Now, let me get washed off." Again. Aleister just laughed at my statement. I managed to get clean again and got out of the shower, and Aleister started to wash himself. I made sure to take care of my new marks first and clean them. I went to the bedroom and started to get dressed. As I got dressed and looked at myself in the full-length mirror, I looked at the marks all over my body again. I smiled. I was Aleister's. Nothing could change that. I managed to find some underwear and pants and then put them on. I found a bra and a red button-up shirt, but I didn't button them up, because as I looked at the marks on my stomach in the mirror, I had a thought cross my mind, and it worried me a moment. My dream came back to me. I traced the mark on my stomach without thought. My ears went down slightly. I heard the water stop in the shower. What brought this up? I never thought of something like this. Never once has it crossed my mind. I should ask, just in case. I heard the door to the bathroom open, and Aleister walked out with just pants on. He had a towel on his head to dry his hair. "Aleister, can I ask you something?" I started, not looking away from the mirror. "What's on your mind, my love?" Aleister wondered as he put the towel around his shoulders. "Well, all that we've been doing last night and this morning, should we have used protection?" I asked out of the blue, putting one ear up and one ear down. "Why do you ask that, my dear?" Aleister questioned as he walked up behind me and inside of the mirror. "It's not really necessary for us." I looked up at him through the mirror. "But what if—" I got nervous trying to ask, my tail wrapped around my legs slightly. Aleister just smiled at me softly. He walked up to me and wrapped his arms around my waist. He placed his hands on my sides and traced his finger along a few of the marks that were there. He put his head on my shoulder. "You won't get pregnant, dearest," Aleister finished for me. I was shocked. My ears went up. How did he know I was going to say that? As my eyes went wide, Aleister just chuckled. "You don't know?" I shook my head. "Demons who are souls of the damned can't have children, so we are safe." I was glad he told me and cleared my curiosity, but why did I feel so sad about it? I looked down and away from his reflection in the mirror. My ears went down. My dreams played with my emotions again. Damn it. "Oh, well, I guess that's good then," I said, but my tone of voice was sad. It threw Aleister off. Why do you sound so sad about it, my dear? Aleister asked, puzzled as he grabbed my chin gently with one of his hands. I don't know, to be honest with you, I admitted to him, but I did not want to tell him about my dream. Not yet. I guess that thought of having a child didn't sound so bad to me. I looked back into the mirror and looked at Aleister. Especially yours. Aleister smiled softly and kissed my cheek. I'm sorry for ruining your thoughts. No, it's okay, I told him. I would be glad to know instead of having it be worry in the back of my mind. Aleister rubbed his hands up and down my sides. I won't lie, though. I feel the figure would look good on you, Aleister whispered to me. I felt a blush creep onto my face. You're just saying that. I wouldn't lie to you, my wolf, Aleister said as he tightened his hold on me. I gave a small chuckle and put my ears up. Well, thanks, I guess. Aleister kissed my neck. Come, my dear, let's finish getting ready. I nodded as Aleister unwrapped his arms from around me and turned to finish getting dressed. I looked at my figure one last time in the mirror. I wrapped my arms around myself. I gave a sigh and my ears went back down. I guess my dream I had will just stay that way. A dream. That little girl. She was so pretty. Elena. I had to remember that name. I still gave a smile. I won't forget her. My tail wagged, remembering her. I went and buttoned up my shirt. I wanted to put on the necklace Aleister gave me last night, so I didn't worry about putting on my choker. I was thinking of what I wanted to do today, and then thought of my sister. I was wondering how she was doing. She called me the other day saying that Kodo was all moved in, and he was a full member of her small gang. She kept talking about him. I had a feeling that my sister was falling for him. It reminded me when she would talk about Victor back in the day. I didn't want to say anything, though, just in case. I didn't want to make her mad. I looked at Aleister, who was buttoning up his shirt. Al, I want to go see Lizzie today. I want to see how she is, I told him. Aleister turned to me as he buttoned the last button of his shirt. If that is what you wish to do, I must run some errands today. Unfortunately, I cannot go with you. Oh, all right. Will you be back tonight? I asked him. Aleister put on his jacket and then looked over to me with a smirk. He made his mic cane appear and he walked over to me. He got up close and just looked down at me with a devilish smile. I plan to come back tonight to be with you. He took my chin into his fingers. I'd like to feel more of you tonight, if you'll let me. He took his claw and traced it down my cheek to my neck. I felt my face grow hot with a blush, but I smiled at him. I'll let you do whatever you want to me. Aleister chuckled. I'm looking forward to it. He growled. I leaned up and kissed him on his lips quickly. Aleister laid his hand on my cheek. I must be off, my love. I leaned into his touch. See you tonight, then. Aleister kissed my forehead, and then I watched as he walked out of the bedroom. I sighed in content and placed a hand on my beating heart. He always made me feel light on my feet. I grabbed my phone and sent a text to Lizzie. Are you home? I am. What's up? Lizzie replied. I want to come over today. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. I miss you. Koda's out right now, so we can have some girl time. Cool. I'll be over soon. I have a lot to tell you. I can't wait. I put my phone in my pocket. I walked into the hallway. Some of our clothes we discarded last night still laid on the ground. I went and picked them up and put them in a pile in the room for now. I walked back out and found my necklace on the table where Aleister had put it. I put the necklace on and headed downstairs. As I walked by the doorway of the kitchen, I looked in and saw the flowers sitting on the table. They gave me a smile. I then walked out of the house and headed my way down the dirt road. It was so nice out, and the city was quiet for the most part. I walked past the hotel and just looked at it for a moment and continued walking. When I had time on the way home, I'd stop and see Charlie and everyone else. I managed to get to Lizzie's house and knocked on the door. I wanted to make sure she knew I was here. The door opened and Lizzie was there to greet me. Hey, Hart, good to see you, Lizzie said. Nice to see you too. I walked into the house. I have a lot to tell you. Lizzie closed the door. You're excited? She turned her head to me. That necklace is pretty. Thanks. Aleister gave it to me last night, I told her as I touched it. Oh, that's sweet. I then noticed she was staring at me, and her eyes got wide. What? I asked her. Heart, your neck is a mess. Lizzie finally said. I blushed and rubbed my neck lightly. Well, that kind of has to deal with what I wanted to talk to you about. I laughed. Lizzie went and grabbed the collar of my shirt, and she exposed more of the bites and love marks that Aleister left me behind last night. Did he hurt you? Lizzie asked angrily. I waved my hands up to her. No, it's the opposite, I quickly told her. I saw Lizzie calm, and she looked almost surprised. Heart, did you and Aleister... I finished her sentence. Make love? Yes, we did, I said, smiling at her. Lizzie smiled and then hugged me. My sister lost her V card. Finally. She cheered and she held me up in the air. Oh, God, Lizzie, please, I said, blushing. Don't tell all of hell. Lizzie put me down. Aw, but sister, such good news. Lizzie went to the couch and sat down. Tell me all the juicy details. I laughed and sat down next to her. Well, okay, if you say so. I then talked to Lizzie about my night with Aleister, and she was just amazed. I knew she was happy for me. I was glad. She got a drink halfway through me talking and gave me one as a celebration. How many times? Lizzie asked out of the blue as she took a sip of her beer. What? I questioned. How many rounds did you go? Lizzie wondered with a smirk. Well, it felt non-stop, to be honest. I laughed. But if I could count... I took a pause to think. I would say 10, counting this morning. Lizzie spit out her drink, almost choking. Holy shit, she finally said. I looked at her funny. You okay? Yeah, I'm good. She gave me a look. How are you standing? I laughed. I don't know. I will say I was in pain this morning. Lizzie then laughed. Damn, Aleister's an animal, huh? Like you wouldn't believe, I laughed while taking a sip of my drink. We both just started laughing. So, I started. How is it with Coda around? I asked her. It's been weird, but nice. He can be charming now and then, Lizzie told me. She looked at her beer and almost had a dreamy look on her face. I saw her dream off and smirked. That's good. I'm glad he's here to take care of you. Damn, more like the other way around, she laughed. I leaned more into her. So, you guys do anything yet? Lizzie just looked at me with a smirk. Maybe. Wow, I'm surprised. You're usually all over guys. I raised an eyebrow. Well, Coda is different. She drank the rest of her beer. I could tell she was nervous about something. Lizzie, do you like Coda? I asked, hoping my head would still be attached after asking her this. Lizzie then went quiet with her ears down. Lizzie paused. I don't know, she said. I'm honestly confused. Confused? On what? I asked her, wrapping my arm around her shoulders. Lizzie, you can talk to me. You know this. Tell me what's on your mind. Lizzie took a breath in. I feel something towards him. I just don't know what it is. My heart is confused. I don't want to fall again. I don't want to get myself hurt. She then started to cry, putting her ears flat against her head. I don't want to have another Victor in my life. I held her tight. Lizzie, it's okay to feel something towards someone still. Love or just liking someone won't go away. Even when you push that feeling away, it's still going to be there. Victor was his own person. I can tell Coda isn't how Victor was. He's better on his feet. I tried to comfort her. Lizzie still had tears falling. I don't know what to do. Give it time. Give Coda a chance. Victor is in your past. Let it go. Coda is strong. I can tell. I may not know much about him, but I know that he would be good for you, sister. How will you know? Lizzie cried. I had the same thing with Aleister, I admitted to her. You did? Lizzie asked through her tears, surprised. I nodded. You weren't around at first when it all happened. I ignored Aleister. I pushed him away for the first 2 months I was at the hotel. No matter what I did, though, he wouldn't leave my mind. He was always around, it seemed. It's like he watched me from the shadows. I couldn't keep my thoughts off him. He did something to me. Something I've never thought. I explained to her. You pushed him away at first? Wow. Looking at you two now, I never would have thought. Lizzie's tears seemed to stop. Me telling her that seemed to calm her. I laughed. Oh yeah. The night we told our feelings to each other, it was different. We danced. The songs playing were perfect. He never really said anything. The songs just did it all for us. Us dancing just explained it all. I looked off and had a dreamy look in my eyes thinking of that night. If I didn't go to that hotel, I wouldn't feel what I have. Your conclusion? Lizzie questioned. She wanted me to get to the point. In conclusion, even though you try to push someone away that you might have feelings for, give them a chance. They might surprise you. Don't ignore your feelings. Let them flow. They come out in their own way, I said. She nodded slowly as I talked. Give him a chance? What if he doesn't feel the same way? I could tell she sounded worried. Rejection is normal. But even so, find a happy medium for you guys. Something that gets you connected to each other. I let her know. I only say because I'm not sure how he feels about me. I saw Lizzie play with her bottle. We do things, but that's all I think he wants from me. I feel more, though. He just isn't a thing to me, I feel. I'm feeling more from it. I'm feeling something from it. I've never experienced that with someone before. I frowned. My sister was having such a hard time with Coda and understanding her feelings towards him. Them having sex probably didn't help her with her mental thoughts. Maybe you two should go out together. Have a date or something. Tell him how you feel. Maybe he likes you too. Maybe he has that same feeling as you when you guys are together in bed, I told her. I don't know, Lizzie said unsure, her ears down. Let's go on a double date, I suggested. Her ears perked up. Double date? She repeated. Sure. Aleister and I will be there. You don't have to call it a date, but you two can come with us and figure it out. My tail wagged. Lizzie gave a small smile. I like that idea. I smiled as well. Okay, we have it down then. When you want to do this? How about over the weekend? Saturday? I'll work it out with Aleister. I'll give you the details and let you know. Sound good? I made sure. Lizzie put her ears up more. Sounds good. I gave Lizzie a hug. I'll help you through this. Thanks, sis. I heard that she was happy. I was on my way home from seeing Lizzie and I stopped to see Charlie to say hi. Angel was there and he noticed right away the marks on my neck. I laughed again as I thought of the moment. Oh shit! You and Aleister finally did it! I remember Angel yelling in happiness. He hugged me and picked me up. Charlie and Becky just gave me a look with wide eyes. They couldn't believe what they heard. I didn't care, though. I still had amazing friends. I walked back into the house, and Aleister still wasn't home. That was fine. I decided to get changed into something more comfortable. I just put on a long, one-piece pajama top. I went to the kitchen and looked at the flowers that Aleister had gave me yesterday and just smiled. I got a glass of wine and went to the back porch that looked into the woods. I noticed there was a small radio outside, and I decided to put it on. And then took a seat in one of the comfy chairs outside. Being out of the city was so nice. It was quiet and peaceful out here. I just sighed in relief. I sipped on my wine and listened to the music. I was so content. I soon heard the radio start to distort, and I glanced over at it. I looked at it confused. Was Aleister playing with me? I heard my heart beat fast in my ears. I almost was scared. "Al?" I asked out loud. The radio then shut off. Aleister then appeared from the darkness behind the radio. "God, you scared me, Aleister," I told him as I held my fast-beating heart. "Sorry, my dear. I didn't mean to scare you," Aleister apologized as he walked forward. "It's okay. I was just relaxing out here, so it caught me off guard," I said. He wrapped his arm around me. "I understand." He looked at me with wanting eyes. "How did your day go?" "It was good. Lizzie was fine. She has some confusing thoughts on that guy Coda who lives with her now. I told her we should go on a double date and have them together in that way," I explained. "Would you be okay with that?" "I don't mind at all. I'll be happy to help your sister get that spark back," Aleister answered. "Thanks, Al. That means a lot," I smiled. Aleister leaned down and kissed me. "Were you okay running your errands today?" I wondered as he pulled away. "I'm here, aren't I?" Aleister purred. "True. I'm glad you're back." I kissed him again. Aleister ran his hand up my thigh. "I missed you," he whispered. I gave a chuckle. "Al, it's only been a day. I missed you as well, though." He put his forehead against mine. "I love you, my little wolf." "I love you too, my great buck," I whispered with a smile. Aleister kissed my forehead and leaned down and kissed me on the lips. He trailed his lips down my neck. He wrapped his arms around me more, holding me tight. He trailed his hand down and played with my tail between his fingers. "May I make love to you again, my darling?" Aleister asked in a whisper. "You don't even have to ask. Take me, Al," I answered. He leaned down and kissed me passionately. We started that night like we did last night, and I hoped every other night, in love. I would never get enough of this man. He was mine, and I was his. Although my dream from this morning was still lingering, I had to push it back. I had to forget about my dream. It would never come true. Something I would never be able to experience. Part of me was okay with that, but the other part of me was saddened by the thought. I wanted to tell Aleister, but I was afraid of it. I didn't know what he would think. It would just be me and Aleister. Forever. End of chapter 22. I'm sorry, I just can't keep them apart. I just love it. I have no self-control. Plus, Aleister is enjoying the lovemaking more than he thought. But Hart isn't going to complain about it. Anyway, until next time, guys. See ya.